All right, let's hit the field.
Today is Wednesday, December 13th, and the baseball world is still awaiting the ripple effects from the Shohei Ohtani contract and the Juan Soto trade to the Yankees. Tonight, we'll talk about what's next for the Yankees with special guest AJ Pierzynski of Foul Territory, Fox, and 19 years in Major League Baseball. This is NYY Recaps.
Welcome to Yankee Stadium.
New York City.
Just when they thought I was out, they pull me back in.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Today, we have a very special guest, the guy who helped turn around Jose Contreras to his full potential in Chicago, Mr. AJ Pierzynski. AJ, how did that happen? How did Jose Contreras become so much better when he was throwing to you?
First of all, this is like a wrestling intro, so I'm all for it. Listen,
Right.
The more wrestling, the more pyrotechnics we can get going, the happier I am. So I didn't do anything. I just showed up, and Jose, when Jose, I think he came over in 04, and he was kind of a bust in New York. He came over in 05, and people forget we also had El Duque that year, right?
Yeah.
So having El Duque and Jose on the same team was special because they were friends in Cuba, and they pitched together in Cuba. They come over to the White Sox, they're together again. And the one thing about Jose, man, that dude's a monster, right? And he had one of the best split fork balls, whatever you want to call it. And I think the one thing that the White Sox allowed him to do was be himself, dropping down, throwing pitches how he wanted, and pitch the way he wanted to pitch. And plus, listen, as you know, Derek, you get outside of New York, you can be yourself, right? And New York sometimes can be tough. You get off to a bad start, whatever. But we let him be himself in Chicago, and he was awesome. One of the best teammates I ever had, one of the happiest dudes I ever had. And people forget from the middle, I think the All-Star break of 05 until the All-Star break in 06, he went like 20-1 or some crazy number. I don't know exactly the number. But he didn't lose a game for a year. It was some incredible streak, and he was just a horse, man.
The Bronze Titan, they called him. One thing that I loved about Contreras and that I also like about Yamamoto, and this was more of a fork ball with Contreras, more of a split finger with Yamamoto, that downward action. Why don't more American pitchers these days throw the forkball, throw the splitter? I was always told growing up that it would hurt my elbow. I threw it anyway, never had any problems. Everybody blows apart their elbow with fastballs these days. Why not throw more splitters?
They're not taught, and no one really knows how to teach it. I mean, you forget Roger Clemens had one of the best
Schilling?
forkball splits. Schilling had one, Papelbon, right? There was Tim Hudson for a long time had a really nasty one. I don't know. Guys don't know how to teach it. And I think it's what you said. People are afraid they're going to blow their elbow out, but it is a devastating pitch if you can throw it right. Because you watch Yamamoto in some of these highlights, the ball just disappears.
Yeah,
Guys swinging over the top. And with his motion and his velocity, it's a devastating combo. 100 with that split is a devastating combo if you can do it.
So we've seen a lot of rumors about Yamamoto. We've seen some rumors that now Shohei Ohtani is recruiting him because he took that big deferment. From what you know about having played in Japan, having played with Japanese players, is there any truth to this thing about you only want to be the only Japanese star on the team, or else you could lose some of the sponsorship dollars, that type of thing? Do you think that he's the type of guy that would want to play in the shadow of Shohei?
I mean, I want to play with Shohei. If I could, right? I'm not Japanese, clearly, but I think being around that, whatever you want to call it, circus, fun, atmosphere, whatever it is, I think it would be amazing to be a part of and see. Nobody knows. That's kind of like with Shohei in his free agency. Yamamoto hasn't said anything, so nobody knows. There was a rumor that he wanted to play with another Japanese guy, right? But again, nobody has any idea because these guys, they don't talk. They don't tell anybody anything. It's all speculation. So I think it's going to come down to who gives him the most money and where he's the most comfortable. And if it's L.A., then great. I mean, imagine him, Shohei, Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, Walker Buehler if he's healthy. I mean, that's a pretty solid team. Now you throw him in New York, Cole, Rodon, Nestor, and Yamamoto. It's not a bad threesome to start a rotation with, right? And foursome, you throw in Nestor. So
pretty filthy.
I mean, listen, I'll say this right now. with Soto going to the Yankees, Shohei going to the Dodgers, I work for Fox. I'll tell you right now who Fox wins in the World Series.
Yeah.
They want Yankees Dodgers. They've wanted that for years, right? Well, guess what? They want it even more now with, Soto there, depending on where Yamamoto goes, but Shohei versus Soto, Yankees Dodgers, trust me, behind the scenes, Fox is rooting for that.
As podcasters, we should be rooting for that too, because it'll make the traffic a lot. Absolutely. So if the Yankees don't get Yamamoto, which, you said he might want to go play in LA, what's your backup plan if you're Brian Cashman? Is it Jordan Montgomery? Do you try and trade for Burns? You might not have enough capital left to make a trade after going to get Soto. They don't have a lot of depth. They had to trade a lot of depth to go out and get Juan Soto. So what do you do to rebuild this rotation if you don't get Yamamoto?
I mean, does Jordan Montgomery want to come back to New York?
That's my question. He didn't sound like he liked having to shave the beard.
Well, not only shaving the beard, but they can I cuss on this show?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I mean, they basically shit-canned him, remember, and said he couldn't pitch in the postseason, and he wasn't going to make the postseason roster, and all he did, I don't know, he dominated it. He did okay in the postseason this year. So I just feel like, Montgomery's a nice backup plan, but what do you want to, he lives in Boston. Most people that live in Boston don't want to play in New York, especially after Verdi being there. Snell, no one's talking about Snell. Is Stroman a possibility for New York? He's a New York guy, right? It gets kind of slim pickings. Are you going to trade for Burns? Do you have enough players? Dylan Cease on the table for the Yankees if you don't get Yamamoto? Or do you try to ride those three? Just hope Rodon gets back to health. Hope Nestor's healthy. Garrett Cole's one of the top 3 pitchers in baseball right now. If not the top one, you can make an argument for him being the top guy in baseball starter-wise. So, and then they try to figure it out on the back end, Clark Schmidt and whoever else they can find. So, it's going to be interesting if they don't get Yamamoto, because then we all know now, the Yankees have money. If they're going this hard off Yamamoto, will they spend that money somewhere else to bring in other pitchers?
Well, that's what I've been saying, is that right now the Yankees look like they're all in, because you got 1 year of Soto guaranteed. And the Yankees, when they're all in, can be dangerous. We saw what happened in 2009 when they went out and got CeCe and Burnett and Swisher, and we all thought, well, they had a nice winter, and then all of a sudden in late December, Mark Teixeira walks through the door. Nobody was expecting that. It was all going to be...
Hold up. Did you just put Swisher in the same category as
no,
Teixeira, Burnett, CeCe?
Well, no.
Hold on, dude. Let's slow down here a little bit.
He actually had a great year that year. He had 29 home runs, but he was coming off of a tough year with the White Sox. I'll give you that.
Tough year? That's giving him credit.
Yeah. Well, he ended up being a very nice player for the Yankees. So I like Swisher. He was a great clubhouse guy. His value went beyond the numbers like that. The Yankees, it's very stuffy, very corporate, and he was the guy that kind of loosened things up. And then you had Burnett with the pies in the face. I think the Yankees need to get back to that, and back to beards. Do you think that maybe this rule of you can't shave and all that stuff, do you think it's time to maybe sunset that, given the society we live in now? It's kind of like, are you really going to tell somebody how they are supposed to look?
Yeah, they are, because that's what George Steinbrenner wanted, and that's what Hal Steinbrenner is going to keep until the Steinbrenner family probably sells this team, which I don't know why they ever would, because they're making crazy money, and they're still the New York Yankees. It's probably going to stay. I don't think that they're going to change that anytime soon. We had Higashioka on, was it yesterday, on Foul Territory, and that was one of the questions we asked him. He goes, well, I feel like it's cliche if I grow a beard right away because I like the Yankees. So he said he's probably going to stay clean-shaven. Like Verdugo, you're showing right there, he's going to have to shave. I don't know if I ever remember him without a beard. So it is funny sometimes when guys go over there for the first time. CeCe, I remember, had a beard forever. He went over there. Johnny Damon, really good buddy of mine, he went over there, and he had to shave after being like the caveman-looking guy.
Yeah.
It is something. But listen, it's a special place, Yankee Stadium. You're playing for the team that's won the most World Series in the history of baseball. So sometimes you got to do some different things. And if it requires shaving, listen, I'd hate it because I hate shaving. You'd have to shave pretty much every day. That sucks. But, hey, if you're a Yankee, when you sign up, especially as a free agent to go there, guess what? You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. Well, you're more known for the White Sox than I think any other team. You obviously still have some connections over there. How familiar are you with Carlos Rodon, just as a person, as a pitcher? Because he had a very tough year. Just an absolute piss year this year. And I'm not even talking fresh, healthy, mostly clear piss. I'm talking gas station, stagnant, with a footprint on it, piss. Just awful, awful year from Rodon. Is he the type of guy that's going to use that as motivation? Is this back thing just kind of something we should just stay worried about? Can he become kind of like CeCe in his later years of his career, where he starts throwing the cutter more, starts pitching to soft contact rather than trying to blow that 98? Because we saw last year his velocity dipped at the end of the year. All the metrics, the StatCast metrics were down significantly. Never had a spring training, but people are like, well, he never had a spring training. Give him some time. He pitched 3 fucking months. How long do you need to get into midseason form?
Apparently 4 months.
Right.
Listen, I know I know Carlos very little. I obviously, being that I'm around the White Sox more than any other team, I've talked to him a few times, and he had a history kind of with the White Sox of being hurt a bunch too, right? And then his last year he was healthy. He goes to the Giants, has the great 1 year, and then he signs the big contract with the Yankees. He doesn't want to be hurt. Okay, let's just establish that. And I think when you say, oh, he missed spring training, that's a bigger deal than you think, because that's kind of your normal time to get ready. And then when you miss that, you try to rush to get back. So you're like, I got to get ready. And you rush things instead of kind of taking your time and getting it ready. I think Carlos will be fine this year as long as his back is okay. And from all indications, everything I've read and seen, his back is better. He's always, for me, not throwing his fastball enough. So you're talking about being like CeCe. Well, he's always thrown a lot of sliders and changeups. So his pitch, Carlos Rodon's pitch coming out of college at NC State was a slider. So, yeah, he's got 96 to 98 also. But I think sometimes he needs to throw that more just to set up that slider, because, you throw enough sliders, eventually one guy's lay off of it, and two, they stop swinging at it and they sit on it. When you make a mistake, they don't miss it. But listen, Carlos cares. I know that from talking to him with the White Sox, and he wants to be out there and he wants to take the ball every fifth day. I mean, he had some bad things happen. What was it? Where was it? He walked off the field and he was getting booed, and he might have gave someone
flipped off
something.
Yeah.
I mean, who hasn't done that? I've done that.
Yeah, I guess.
I didn't do it as blatantly as he did, but I did it more, hiddenly.
I guess it was Blackjack McDowell did that at Yankee Stadium. Do you remember that back in the mid-'90s?
I do. I remember we were playing when I was with the Twins. We played a White Sox, and Jose Paniagua walked off the field with double birds, and he got released the next day, I think.
Double birds. I love it. So, all right, the Yankees. Okay, they've got Soto, they got Verdugo, they might get Yamamoto. Let's say they complete that trifecta. I still don't know if they're better than the Orioles. I don't think that they are. I mean, it's close. They're going to be better. You have to get a full year of Aaron Judge, but can you really count on Giancarlo Stanton to bounce back? Can you count on post-concussion syndrome Rizzo bouncing back 100%? Would you make any more moves to improve the offense, or would you just kind of try and keep padding the pitching?
I just don't know where you put a guy at this point with who they have already, right?
Yeah.
Catcher's kind of taken, right? First base, you have Rizzo. Second base, you have Glaber. Short, you have Volpe. Third, LeMahieu. Right is Judge, or if he's going to play center or whatever.
I don't like
Soto's
that.
It's going to be a lot on him, but, yeah. Who are you going to go out and get unless you find a true center fielder?
Yeah.
Who's going to play right? Is it going to be, who's the right fielder, I guess, is the one question. Stanton's your DH. Soto's in left. So you really have one guy. It's a right fielder possibly, unless you move or you find a center fielder. But their lineup's pretty set. So where do you go, right? Yeah, it'd be great to have this guy or that guy. I mean, pitching is kind of what they look for. But if you don't get Yamamoto, we already discussed, where do you go from there? So I think you can count on Rizzo bouncing back. I know people discount the concussion thing he had going. I think you'll see, I think Trevino will bounce back. He's coming off the injury. I think Wells would be a nice addition with him, righty-lefty combo. I think the Stanton is the key for me. Can he stay healthy? We already saw Brian Cashman say, we're not counting on Stanton for more than 100 games because he can't stay healthy, right? I mean, if he gives you 140 games, he's going to hit you 45 to 50 homers just because he runs into that many balls. So I think their lineup is set, and I think don't discount how big Rizzo coming back, and then obviously Soto. I know we talked about it on Foul Territory, and then Derek, you're on there. Listen, if there was one team that had to make a trade for one specific guy, it was the Yankees for Juan Soto. I know other teams are involved, but come on. You know it as a Yankee fan. There was never been more pressure on one general manager and one team to make a move for one player than it was on the Yankees and Juan Soto. You know what? They went out and did it. Now, is he only going to be there for 1 year? I mean, can they afford to sign another, $300 to $400 million guy?
If they get Yamamoto, I don't think they're going to re-sign Soto. I just don't see. I mean, you can't have over $200 million tied up on 5 players, right? I mean, you just can't do it. But I mean, if you want to be the evil empire, right? I mean, that's kind of their reputation. Go to those boundaries that nobody else has, and there's also the possibility now that this has been done. The precedent has been set of altering that AAV with the Shohei deal. Maybe Yamamoto does the same type of thing. Maybe Soto does the same type of thing. I'm sure you're 43, 44 years old, something like that. I'm sure you'd love to still be getting.
I wish.
How old are you?
Almost 47.
Almost 40. I'm sure you would love to still be getting, 68 million. Well, 68 million, I'm sure you'd take it. But
especially living in Florida where we have no taxes, it'd be awful.
Even 10 million a year, Soto would love that in his late 40s.
I just don't know. Well, I mean, Soto has Scott Boras. Scott Boras usually doesn't do those. I mean, obviously, this is the first time we've ever seen a contract like this. So,
yeah.
I mean, nobody. There's always been deferrals, but Scott Boras, usually wants his guys to get their money up front and get it quick. But I don't know. This might be a new trend, and I think it's not the worst thing in the world because if you think about it, the player still gets his money. I know people say, interest and all this, but I mean. Dude, 68 million. Okay, so you're missing out. Instead of 68 million, you might get 69 million. Okay, I think you can still survive off 68 million.
Yeah.
So I don't know that we'll see a contract like this again. Maybe Soto might be the one guy that could pull this off and say, yeah, wherever he goes next year, I'll take 5 million and I'll defer 50 million or whatever it is. But it's just crazy the numbers to think about because Soto's so young. I mean, he can still sign another 10, 12-year contract.
Armando Gomez brings up a good point. He says Boras is 70. He's not going to take that deferred interest because he's not going to. Yeah, he's not going to be around to spend it. Yeah, I like that. All right, Yankees fans audience, man, they're great. All right, so you've just completed your first year of podcasting. I've been doing this for 5 years. Tell us a little bit about Foul Territory. How did you get involved in that? What are your thoughts doing your first year of baseball podcasting?
It's been fun. It's been really fun. First of all, though, it sucks because I have to get on social media, which I find interesting.
I hate it
to
too,
say the least. I don't know that I hate it. I find it. I think I have a better. I mean, there are times where you're just like, this sucks, but there are also times where it just makes me laugh because people are so crazy. I'm gonna try and be nice here. People are just crazy about some of the things they write about people, and you're just like, dude, you don't even know me. You don't. Well, you're like, let's say I do a Yankee Red Sox game, right? They're like. One guy will tweet at you, oh, man, you love the Yankees. And 5 minutes later, you get a tweet saying, why do you hate the Yankees and love the Red Sox? I'm like, dude, I don't give a – let me just say this. I don't give a flying fuck who wins the games, okay?
Yeah.
Even if I'm doing a White Sox game, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. I just want a good game. I want no rainouts, no rain delays, and I want a good game that has something happen so I can talk about it, right? Because the rest I don't care about. And then, Foul Territory came about. Scott Braun, who's kind of the host of the show, and I met it's been about 2 years ago now, and we did a podcast for the MLB alumni together, and we kind of talked about this idea he had, and then they kind of built it, and they had to raise some money and started it, and it's been fun. I mean, we've talked to I think over 300 players. We've talked to managers, we've talked to front office people, we talked to coaches, we've talked to just about everybody. And the one thing it's helped my broadcasting because one, I know more about players, I know more about every team now from doing it. And it also makes me more comfortable when I walk in the clubhouse. Listen, I played for 19 years, but I retired. Everyone retires, right? So I retired 7 years ago now. And, listen, there's still dudes I played with, but it's more and more guys I don't know. So having them come on a podcast, talk to them for 20 minutes and get to know them. I walk into a Dodgers clubhouse, I see Max Muncy. I'm like, hey, bro, we just talked yesterday,
Yeah.
on our podcast. It's cool, right? He'll come up, and then he'll introduce me to someone else. Say, hey, you should get him on. He's a good guest. So things like that help. Plus the fan interaction is great. And, I'm surprised how many people on airplanes and in different cities come up and say, oh, man, I love Foul Territory. It's been very, very welcome, and it's been a really fun ride so far.
It's been totally fun to be a part of behind the scenes because, I cover the Yankees, and for a long time it was tough. It was difficult to keep up with what was going on around the league because I'm so focused on Yankee news, right? So I miss a lot of the up and coming prospects and stuff. So it's actually helped out NYY Recaps significantly in just the things I can, talk about the stories that we hear. I love hearing those behind the scenes stories. And, the perception, you mentioned the perception of you. When I came on, I was thinking, I had the public perception of you from back when you were a player, which was, he's cantankerous. I was like, is AJ going to be mean to the new guy and treat the help like dirt? But I got to say, you and Kratz and Frazier, you guys have all been like just awesome. I think that the average person, especially the sports writer, doesn't understand how to interpret ball breaking, which you guys all are like masterclass ball breakers. And so they interpret that as being like jerks or whatever, when really you're just busting balls.
Yeah. Listen, I'll say this. I'm very honest about stuff. You can ask anybody. I'll tell you how I feel. And, but I also like to have fun. And listen, if you dish it out, you better be able to take it. Right. I've always been told. So listen, if I say something to you, and listen, if you want to know how, if I don't like you, I won't talk to you, right? If I'm talking to you and I'm busting your balls, that means I like you. So, I had a lot of really good relationships with a lot of reporters over the years. And the one thing I'll say about, my whatever people say about me when I played different than, I had to play different. I had to play mad. I had to play with hate. And that was just the way I had to do it. If I was going to go out there and catch 135 games a year, I had to go out there angry. And it was nothing personal. It was just the way I had to play. And I would invent reasons to be pissed at dudes. I mean, I faced Mark Burley, who was one of my best friends, and I'm like, fuck you, asshole. Like, I hate you. Even though, I know after the game we're going to go hang out and talk, and we'll talk shit to each other on the mound. But that's just the way I had to play. And listen, I don't recommend it for everybody because it's tougher than people think to do that. You got to have thick skin and be able to listen to some of the crap from the media and all that. But listen, I wasn't out there to be friends with anybody. After the game, we'll go out and hang out. But for those 3 hours, I mean, it used to be 3.5 to 4 hours, but they've cut it down now. So, but for those, 4 hours I was out there, listen, I was out there to try to beat your ass.
Well, I'll let you go soon, but I got to get your favorite memory or your most memorable experience playing either against the Yankees or in Yankee Stadium or with a Yankee, because this is a Yankees channel, so we got to feed the beast.
Do we want good memories? I don't have a lot. I mean, okay. So
give us something behind the scenes, maybe something we don't know.
Let's see. So 2001, I was just coming up with the Twins. I had been up, but we go to Yankee Stadium the first time we play the Yankees. We beat Mariano in the 9th inning. And the only hit I got off him was that my first at bat, I broke my bat, got a little blooper over the left fielder's head, ended up scoring the winning run. And that was a special one. We won a playoff game there in 2003. First game, Santana won it. That was special with the Twins. We ended up losing the series 3-1, but we did win that one game, so that was kind of cool.
Was that the last one before the streak began?
It was exactly. Exactly. So, Thanks for rubbing that. Actually, it makes me feel better because that was the last time I think whatever. Gosh, I have so many good memories. Like I remember the new Yankee Stadium. I broke my bat and hit a home run. That was kind of cool. The only time that ever happened to me. I was running around the bases going, God, this place is a fucking joke. I got a broken bat in my hand, and the thing went like 10 rows deep to right. I remember Gary Sheffield, we were playing, and Bobby Jenks, who legit threw 100 back then. He hit one out of old Yankee Stadium. He pulled it and went literally over the top deck out there and went out onto whatever the road is out there. It was the craziest. Then he struck out, but it was one of the craziest things I've ever seen. Going to new Yankee Stadium. We played I'll tell you what was one of my great memories. So we played one of the last games in old Yankee Stadium. We were actually the last team to win in old Yankee Stadium. We beat the Yankees. We were there the third to last game. They played the Orioles the last two. Derek Jeter was like close to, who was it? I guess whoever had the record for the Yankee career hits, I guess Roger Maris maybe. Or no, sorry.
It was Gehrig.
Gehrig, right? He comes up to lead off the game, literally hits a 6-hopper to our third baseman, Juan Uribe. It goes through his legs. They give him a hit, and that was how he broke Luke Gehrig's all-time hit. So we're like, I'm catching. I'm like, you got to be fucking kidding me, dude.
I remember that.
What? I want to come play for the Yankees. They get hits the ground balls that go through the third baseman's leg. This is a great place to play, but. Stuff like that. I remember like Paul Konerko hit the last home run as a visitor in old Yankee Stadium. I have a base. I bought the base for my last hit. I got a single, and I bought the base. So I have first base hanging in my house from my last hit in old Yankee Stadium. I had a lot of good memories, like, pictures of my family and stuff in old Yankee Stadium. New Yankee Stadium was cool. It's not the same, though. It didn't have the same feel. Listen, I got more bad memories against the Yankees than I do good, trust me, because I lost a shitload of games to the Yankees over the years.
Yeah, the old Yankee Stadium just had like a unique smell. I don't know what it is. It was just like 80 years.
It smelled like cat piss.
80 years of cat piss and pheromones and popcorn and, Mickey Mantle, whatever he's doing under the stands.
Listen, there was no better place to go. Like, I'm so thankful I got to play in a playoff series there and feel the atmosphere and, be a part of it. Even though it was only 2 games, it was unbelievable. So, like, when you walked into Old Yankee Stadium and you looked out, it was like the coolest view because you're just like, you remember all the people that played there and you remember all the memories. And, people don't realize I was born in New York, so I have a lot of family in New York, and they're all, Yankee and Mets fans. But, grow up and when I'd go up and visit my grandparents up in, Long Island, the Yankees game would be on with Phil Rizzuto, and I'd turn it on and watch it, 8, 9, 10 years old with my grandparents. And, it was cool. And then when you actually get to step on that field, I mean, there's certain places when you step, like Fenway, Yankee Stadium, Wrigley, the first time you step on those fields, if you're a baseball fan, you kind of get, little chills. You're like, oh, man, like I'm in fucking Yankee Stadium right now where all the boys played.
All right, so last thing, I know you're a Gators fan. I don't root for a lot of college sports, but I do like the Gators. I saw Chris Leak when he was in high school. He played at Charlotte Independence in North Carolina, and I remember my baseball team was working we were selling programs. We were like scalping programs. We would get the programs for like $5, go further down in the parking lot, sell them for $6 as people are coming in or whatever, and, make a couple $100. But Chris Leak was unbelievable. I think he threw 48 touchdowns in high school. I feel like he got not enough credit for what he did, especially that documentary, Swamp Dogs or whatever. I feel like they gave all the publicity to Tebow, but the guy who got him downfield was Chris Leak. I
agree. Listen, as a lifelong Gator fan, Chris Leak lives in Orlando too, by the way, where I live. So I run into him.
Oh, tell him I said what up.
If I see him, I will. I run into him like random golf tournaments or like, whatever. But he's always been nice to me. I agree that the Swamp Kings thing they did on Netflix could have been so much better, but you also have to understand who the 2-man people behind it were one Tim Tebow, the other one was Urban Meyer. So they're not going to, they're not going to make either one of them because there's so many stories they could have told, about all the things that happened during that reign, which was arrests and, Urban Meyer getting
Aaron Hernandez,
Urban Meyer getting a random heart attack and having to quit. All these crazy. There's a million. If you live down here, there's a million different stories and things you hear. So, but I definitely agree with you. Chris Leak deserved more credit, especially for that 06 team when they won their first national championship because he was the guy. He was the quarterback for 95% of the plays. Right. I was at the jump pass from Tebow against LSU. I was standing right where the guy caught it. If you kind of see, they had an end zone view, you'd literally see me. I could have reached out and grabbed Tate Casey. I was that close to him. So there was a million things they could have done better. Chris Leak definitely didn't get the love he deserved. But listen, everyone has their different versions of history, especially when you produce the show. So, you make it how you want to make it.
Frankie Baseball, member of our team, says, can we get a Swamp Kings doc on Aaron Hernandez? Look, nobody gives Aaron Hernandez the recognition he deserves for breaking O.J. Simpson's record.
What's that, killing the most people or something?
Yeah, most murders.
Listen, there was a documentary on him, wasn't it? It was called like Aaron Hernandez Behind the Murder or something. I don't know.
Something like that.
But here's the thing about that whole thing. Aaron Hernandez, heck, they didn't talk about Percy Harvin at all, who was like the number one recruit. They talked about Tebow, but Percy Harvin was legitimately the number one recruit like in all of the country.
In the country, yeah.
And he came in and just dominated from day one. So there was a lot of things. They got into a little bit of like Chris Rainey and Jeff Demps, a couple other guys. They didn't talk about the Pouncey brothers, who were also, they were known to run afoul of the law when they were in Gainesville. So, there was a lot of things that happened that they just kind of glossed over because, it was a fluff piece.
Yeah. AJ presents.
Derek, it did make me cry though. Not cry, but like, because I was at like, that was kind of when my kids were super young. And so like, I still have season tickets and I know I don't get to hardly any games anymore, but that was when I was going to like every game. So when they're showing those highlights, I was at all those games.
That's awesome.
I would go in the locker room after the game. So I like knew all those guys and, being there with Urban Meyer and hanging out and just So like when they're talking about those times, it was like, it brings me back, and I was like, gosh, I'm sitting there watching, and I'm like, man, I feel like I was like, let's go, like I'm ready to go now.
There's almost nothing like the atmosphere of like a really big college sports game. Like, so I live in Wake Forest, North Carolina, so I go to, occasionally Duke, UNC games, like the basketball especially. I mean, it's as loud as any World Series game I'd imagine. I've been to a couple of, playoff games at Yankee Stadium. It's very loud, but you get inside the Dean Dome for Duke versus Carolina, it shakes you for days. Like you can't regain your equilibrium. It's so loud.
I agree. The college football for me is where it's at.
Yeah.
The only atmosphere I can ever say, I've been to pretty much every major sporting event you can ever go to. Been very fortunate, World Series, Super Bowls, hockey finals, NBA finals, whatever you want to call it. There's nothing like walking into a college football stadium, and like I went to Alabama LSU this year in Alabama, and just the crowd gets going. It's a great. The only thing I can ever explain it to, and people like I watch like Premier League soccer. Like until you've gone to like a major Premier League game, like you go to a Tottenham or a Man City, a Man U game, that's like as close as you can get, because those people are full nuts. I mean, for their teams, like they are full crazy.
I was thinking about going to one of those ones in Mexico where if you lose, they kill the goalie. Like that would be fun, I think.
Except if you're the goalie.
Yeah. AJ Pierzynski, Foul Territory, Fox Sports, all that good stuff. Let's give him a standing ovation here. Appreciate it, my man.
Yeah. Clap, okay.
AJ, thanks a lot. I guess I'll see you at work tomorrow, my man.
Yeah, thanks, Derek, man. You're the man. Thanks for all you do for us, and we'll talk soon.
All right, take care.
Bogey.